driving down Highway 90 at about 80 miles an hour. I fell asleep and flipped my Explorer, broke my ankle, did damage to my hand. I could see blood. I had to crawl out the back windshield. I knew I was hurt, which told me this was not going to be a quick trip. So I walked on broken glass and barefoot, looking for my bag that I kept my pills in. Then I would calm down and go with the ambulance. Like that was my mindset.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures.
We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at,
Few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are
Because
loved.
we are loved.
My name is Kathryn, and this is my story. Despite having been raised in a loving and supportive family, I fell victim to the lies of the enemy at a very young age and just believed that I wasn't enough and I never would be. This fear led me into a 20-plus year drug addiction and into a pattern of toxic and abusive addictive relationships. In 2018, I finally hit my knees in surrender, and Jesus met me there. My life today is unlike anything I ever thought it could be.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Jesus Loves Addicts, Season 2. Whoop, whoop. All right. We are truly excited. This is good stuff. And guys, what you're seeing on screen for the first time, this new set is something I'm seeing for the first time, too. I got to walk in here today and see all the upgrades. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope you will enjoy it the same way I am. I love it. It's very comfortable. And I am excited about this episode that you're about to see for two reasons. One is that I get to work with the guy to my left, Ross Richard. You may recognize that name because not only is he a friend and colleague, but he was our very first guest on Jesus Loves Addicts. So super excited to be working with him. And why is Ross here as my co-host today? Other than we love to have him. He's also here because our guest today is the co-host you normally see, and that's Kathryn Beatty. And we are really excited to be talking to Kathryn today. You guys will be learning more about her story as I will be. So I am really excited to be digging into this and getting to know my co-host at a deeper level. And so as you might imagine, this conversation went on for some time. So this is going to be a 2-part episode. And so with that, I hope you enjoy part 1 of season 2. I am, again, really excited to get to know you at a different level. I love working with you professionally and doing what we do, but now I get to kind of see behind the curtain, so to speak.
The why.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So where does your story, you know how this works, where does your story begin that we can?
I'm actually born and raised locally in Jackson County, born and raised from Goshen, Mississippi. I had a really wonderful upbringing. Not what we often hear. I had an amazing childhood. I have a very, very large, supportive, loving family. We actually grew up on like one street, our entire family, like great aunts, cousins, no locked doors, I've always said it was basically idyllic. And I guess I could always tell you that from the earliest I can remember, I always felt less than. I believed the lie that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't enough. This didn't come from anyone in my family. We were loved, affirmed. Some of my earliest memories, my mom is kneeling by the bed with me and my sister, teaching us to say our prayers.
Can I pause you right there? Because that actually was one of the things in your intro that kind of caught my attention is that you said you're from a loving home and yet there's this piece of you that feels less than. So you just said you don't think it came from family. Do you have any, where do you think that evolved from?
I honestly don't know. I never felt like I measured up. I don't know if it was me even at a young age comparing at school. I was smart. My grades, I made the grades I wanted to make.
Yeah.
I was also very rebellious, like very early.
Like right from the get-go?
Yes. Like surely, David said, surely I was sinful from the time I was conceived. Like I was rebellious. I was 7 in second grade. I had to write on a sheet of paper that said, I, Kathryn Louise Kyatt, have not done my homework for 2 months. And my mom was supposed to sign it. And even at 7, it made 0 sense to me why I would actually have her sign that. So I forged it and got in trouble for forgery in the second grade.
So were you in trouble a lot then?
Yeah, I got put on restriction a lot. We were disciplined.
Yeah.
We would lose privileges. My mama had a fly swatter, and it was red, and it's hung on where people put their keys.
As a reminder?
No, just so she could have quick access to it.
Yeah.
And I can remember my sister and I, we'd be fighting at night. We're 2 years apart, my younger sister, and then I have a little brother and an older sister. And Lauren and I, we'd fight like cats and dogs. And she would come in and get us with the fly swatter, and we'd be crying at first, but then we'd look at each other and start laughing. And it's that old, oh, you think it's funny? You want me to give you something to cry about? And we'd be like, no, we're good. But
well, so let me, because I'm curious about this one, right? I think it's worth it. So my imagination goes here, right? I think sometimes we can find ourselves in circles of friends and we're getting in trouble. And so for a child, there becomes this kind of dual personality, not clinically, just, figuratively speaking, that, on one hand, I'm being cool and I'm appreciating the feedback I'm getting from my friends. But on the other hand, I feel the eyes upon me from the authority figures. And that doesn't feel good as a child. It feels like might that be where it just came from? This idea that I'm never going to be good enough. You just weren't getting that approval from, because a child wants that, right?
I don't know. Like I really never, I just always remember thinking but I also never told anyone that's how I thought.
Sure. So beyond feeling like you were less than, did you identify with you were labeled as like the bad kid?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
No, I wasn't. I would say no. Like I wasn't public. Like I would get in trouble at school, like small things. Right. And we always got in trouble at home. Like we did some dumb things. I mean,
Now, where are you in the line of your siblings?
My older sister, Amy, is 13 years older than me. Then it's me. Then my younger sister, Lauren, is 2.5 years younger. And then our baby brother is 6 years younger.
So his oldest sister, almost like a surrogate mom at 13 years old?
No, because Amy, when I was 5, Amy's graduating high school and she went off to college.
So she was absent most of your childhood?
Yeah, she was there, like she would come home from school. She was only at South Alabama in Mobile.
Okay. So
she lived there, but she spent a lot of time at home, and we could go stay with her when she had an apartment there.
Oh, fun.
She always made sure to stay very present. Even later, like when no one else would, she'd answer the phone. Like,
yeah. Well, I'll dig into that more as we go. So no, I'm sorry. It stopped you at age 7-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never disclosed how I felt. I just, I read a lot of books. My head was pretty much like in the clouds. There wasn't anything like traumatic or this happened. When I was 13, again, I told you we grew up on this one street. And there was just always family there. You know, if your mom wasn't home, then your aunt was. And I was 13, so Lauren would have been 11, and Elias was 6, my little brother. And we had never seen my parents argue. ever. A raised voice, none of those things took place. And I remember they had called us all together. We'd never had a family meeting. I remember having to get off the phone with my friend, and that perturbed me. I'm 13, had my own phone line because that's what teenagers need.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in the kitchen, and my dad just said, hey, your mother and I have not been getting along for some time now. And we're like, what? And followed with, so we've decided to get a divorce. And everything just rocked because I knew my aunt and uncle had divorced about a year before that. And that it changed the dynamics.
Sure.
And I didn't know then. I found out later, I just got very, very angry. My parents did all the things that was recommended. They got us to see a counselor. They stayed dialed in hey, let's talk about this. But I didn't want to talk. And I was angry. And it actually was about 6 months, 6 months after they got a divorce that I was trying drugs for the first time with a friend. I had never smoked pot. I might have had a sip of a beverage at an event, but I was trying LSD acid at 13 for the first time. I'd never dabbled in anything. And
So you went right into the fast lane.
Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing, but I liked it.
Yeah.
So did you already, did you kind of gain a lot of freedom?
Yeah.
Because your parents were dealing with that, so you were kind of allowed to do things that you would not. Yeah.
Yes. And I would tell them, they wanted to meet my needs. And I would tell them, I just need space. I was manipulating them.
You were manipulating.
Absolutely. If I was talking, I was lying. My mom would be the first to tell you that.
Yeah.
And that's it. I wanted what I wanted even then. And I wasn't a good person even at 13. If I had to say some things to hurt you, to make you feel a certain type of way, you were going to give me what I wanted. And that was the truth.
Were you very different from your siblings, or did all of you kind of respond in similar fashion? Or
no, my brother, I don't think he even really understood. There was no way he could have. What he understood was that his two sisters that he idolized were crying, and so he started to cry. I remember that, all of that in that scene in the kitchen. I remember like yesterday, and I want to say, even after that, I've worked in the field of addiction. I've gone through some things. Even now, I look at how my parents handled all of that with us, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
They didn't we never saw them argue before that, but they also didn't argue after that. My dad built a house 2 streets down so that we would be an easy walking access to our whole family. We celebrated Christmas, birthdays together, you name it. But
it still shows the effect that the divorce had, even if it was handled correctly.
Yes. Yeah,
it's still, I mean, you say no trauma, but it sounds like that was a traumatic experience.
That was the trauma. Yes. Yeah, it shook everything. My foundation.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, so I love that they handled it well, and I agree with you from what you're describing. But even in handling it well, the secrecy about the deteriorating relationship, did it hit you like betrayal almost? Like everything, how where did this come from, right? This family is being betrayed.
You're right. It did. And what their reasons were, they didn't disclose to kids.
Sure.
But I'm that one that, I said I like to read, and I still like to read. But I read to the end of the book first, and then I read the book. And every show we watch, I Google. And my husband's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Mm-mm." So I want to know the reason. I want to understand. And they didn't. For kids, they didn't. I don't feel like they owed us an explanation.
Yeah.
We've had conversations later, as adults.
But I guess to what Paul is asking is you went straight from I have the perfect family
Yeah.
to like the rug being pulled out from
Yeah.
you to like, how am I just hearing about like it's already to the point of divorce?
Yeah.
That must have been a lot.
It was. I remember when you said that, I remember trying to finish the sentence in my mind for my dad that night.
Mm.
And it never ended with divorce. It was, your mother and I have not been getting along for some time now. And in my mind, I was finishing it, going, so we've decided to separate, because I could work with that.
Right.
But it was a permanent. And I shut down. I remember saying, all right, are we done? And went back and got on my phone call. And I didn't even tell the person I'd been talking to on the phone. Like, I called her back and was like, hey, I'm sorry. It took longer than I thought. Like, nothing. But it's not shocking to me that I was willing to try anything as long as I had freedom and could do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
It is interesting how well your defenses were already in place, right? I mean, because you said you and your sister were crying, but then quickly that wall comes down with very little up until this point. Noticeable events that would cause you to be building these defenses, right? I mean, it's it's interesting. Yeah.
no one's ever pointed it out. I've never even thought about it.
Yeah.
What also jumped out as me is from a Christianity standpoint, the fact that you didn't have to be taught how to be so manipulative.
Yeah.
Like you saw a way to take advantage of a situation, and it just shows you that human beings, like you said, I wasn't a good person, but nobody is, right?
Right. Yes.
You don't have to teach a kid to be manipulative.
The first thing they learn
We
to say
already
is no.
know it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was it. And
The nature of the flesh.
And so we went back week to week. Every other week we'd be with my mom, and then every other week with my dad.
Which is just 2 houses down.
2 streets down.
2 streets down. Okay.
And both had a key to the other's house. So if I left something, whatever. But I will say this, I very early knew that if I wanted my way, it was going to be through my dad. And
so mom was the discipline.
yeah.
He was the...
Yeah, she was teaching us rules and responsibility, and you had chores, and there's consequences if you don't do your chores. And in the grand scheme of things, let's be real, I didn't have chores like some of these kids have. My chores were, I had to put up the folded clothes, or one of us had to put away the clean dishes, and it was me or Lauren. Take your pick. That was it. You know, but I couldn't even do that just because I didn't like being told what to do.
So would it be fair to say you were spoiled?
Yes.
Okay. Let's just tag that.
Yeah, I was a spoiled brat. But I will say, like, and I've talked to my mom, and I had talked to my dad at different times when he was alive, but they worked hard to give us a good life. It never crossed their minds that actually 2 of the 4 children would go into addiction. Like, never.
Who was the other?
My little brother. So I realized I'm also, I liked to think I was super smart and smarter. And so I used the law like, oh, well, once a child is 12 or above, they can choose which parent they want to live with. And I hurt my mom, like hurt her. And I was like, I don't want to go back and forth. I want to stay here with my dad. I don't want him to be by himself. And I just, as an adult now, think how that must have just taken the wind out of her. And
right.
Hate that I did that. Yeah.
But because that's not how God designed the family unit to work. That's completely out of whack for the kid.
Absolutely, yeah. I just remember her voice, like, it got tight and controlled, you know, and now I know that it was like a blow.
Yeah.
And she said, well, if that's that's what you want, you know. And I didn't know what I wanted.
Sure.
What I wanted was to get what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I think that had to have scared her because she knew that my daddy loved his children, but he did not tell us no. And
so was that a thing that happened after the divorce, or he was always kind of a pushover?
Oh, no, he was always, yeah.
Okay.
And it was common knowledge that I was his weak point.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's Thrift Stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's Thrift Stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's Thrift Stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
So there's this moment when you tell about, hurting your mom, that it's clearly still a painful memory for you. And certainly that's just because of who you are today. But do you think some of that is because you are now a mother? You get a different insight into that?
I would say yes. And also because of the relationship I have with my mom today. Like I never thought I'd have it. And I wouldn't take $1 million for it.
Yeah.
And just knowing everything she's done.
So before we get there, because I'm sure there is a redemption story in that relationship. Yeah. So here we are 6 months after the divorce, and you dive headlong into the worst of it. So this was a friend who introduced you, and where does this road?
Actually a group of, that was a friend, but it wasn't even within a couple months, a small group of my friends who were also they were privileged. And that became our thing. Every weekend we were tripping on acid, so to speak, even at school, in the 8th grade. And
were you like drinking and smoking pot too?
I had tried pot. I don't think I really drank until I was 4. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I'll get there, but I was also that one that said, I'm not an alcoholic because I don't like it. But I started taking pills, Valium, Xanax, opiates, Lortabs, and I liked them. They did something for me. And I also had I got into a pattern of toxic, abusive relationships. And I was in my first one by the time I was 15. I still look back and I'm going, nothing prepared me for that. Like, I don't know I don't know if it was because I felt like somewhere I deserved it. I don't know. But it didn't fit with what I'd been taught and raised with.
Sure.
It may not have fit with what you were taught, but based on what you just told us 5 minutes ago, where you never felt good enough,
Yes.
then I would say that idea that this is what I deserve or this is all I'm capable of is probably where you did prepare for it, right?
Yeah.
Not consciously, but subconsciously. That's exactly
So you
what
like Bad Boys?
for.
Like, was that it? Or
No.
it was just you were drawn to abusive people?
Yeah, but I didn't know they were abusive when it started out, but I accepted completely unacceptable behavior. And it very quickly, even at the first one at 15, the things I put my parents through, it was physically abusive, very verbally abusive. And I, for whatever reason, kept that a secret from everyone. I needed to protect him because I'm going to save him. I don't know.
Well, you started this whole thing off saying you always felt like you were less than.
Yeah.
So someone who thinks that they're less than is going to put up with that kind of stuff.
And I did.
Yeah.
And my parents had said, put their foot down. You're not allowed around him. And the spoiled brat that I was.
That made him more tempting.
Oh no, I packed my stuff and threw it out the window and ran away. That almost
with him, to him.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No, oh yes, and then it very quickly turned into I couldn't leave now that I wanted to go home. I couldn't, and my parents. It was in the newspaper. It was on the radio that I was missing, and I remember. After I did get home, being so mad because my dad had put in the newspaper the last line. I can still see the picture. There was a horrible picture. And then at the very last line in the missing part, it says, she may be wearing retainers on her teeth. Like,
why
was that even necessary?
Dad.
So let me ask you this, because you said that you couldn't have left if you wanted to. It got to that point. So how did you eventually get back home? Huh?
My parents found, we had gone to Jackson, Mississippi. That's where his biological family, his mom that he really didn't have a relationship with, living. And so we went there and my parents were able to get in touch with her.
Did you do all this voluntarily? I mean, did they have to, were you going with him voluntarily or was that
originally I went with him voluntarily, but when I said I wanted to go home, it was made very clear that that wasn't an option. Okay. And so his mom, I guess, met with him. I'm not really sure how. All I know is I was told your parents do know where you are and they were on their way to get you in Jackson.
Was that a relief at that point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they actually brought us both back because his parents his dad he lived with was in Pascagoula. So
were drugs and alcohol a part of this whole relationship? Is that
no,
they were not.
It really wasn't.
Were
that actually started this pattern of keeping my use secret. Like I would use and not tell him.
Him, your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did not use.
If he did, I didn't know it.
Okay, interesting.
But he
this
was
is like 15 though?
Yeah.
This is young.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then basically it's like, I don't know, somehow whenever we got home, it was understood that was ended. That was a done deal. So when I was also 15, a girl I had been friends with in junior high school had gotten pregnant. This also became part of my saving grace that she brought her to me when the baby was 3 months old and for me to babysit. And then she did not come back immediately, like for weeks, basically. This went on for a while and more often I and my family had her. And when she was about 10, we actually went to court and I was given full custody of her. And that would be my now 28-year-old daughter.
And I'm sorry, that was a friend's daughter, actually? So you ended up formally adopting her?
I was given guardianship to the exclusion of anyone else was how the order had read. Okay. Even if I was in treatment, she was with my family. But it was having her there, like those nights that I probably would have gone too far, I had to go home. So having that responsibility of a child kept you a tad bit in check. Yeah. We like to say that we kind of grew up together. Because she's like, you're old. And I'm like, I'm 15 years older than you.
Right.
Not really, but yeah.
So
Now, this isn't about her, but is her actual mom in the picture somewhere in orbit?
No,
or just
they have no relationship.
No, okay.
Nope.
So at this point, you said you were using Valium and Lortabs. Were you having to use, or you'd be sick? Like
Not
at
yet,
this point?
but I also had not really run into an issue where I didn't have access to money to get them if I wanted them. And I'd also started stealing, I forgot about that, started stealing my dad's Ativan and my brother's Ritalin. That was also a thing that we did. I wouldn't say I was just in and out of relationships and passing in school. I was involved in show choir, so that kind of I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's interesting.
I know.
Yeah. This little bit of normalcy or whatever
I
that is.
loved show choir.
Into,
Yes. And concert choir and madrigals. I did. I liked it a lot. Really, I can tell you that I never there wasn't a drug that had me. The night I graduated high school in May of 99, a girl I knew who her sister had actually previously babysat my siblings, had given us, and this is 99, so given me a bunch of 10 milligram OxyContin before anybody knew what they even were. And here, try these. I have fibromyalgia. They gave me these. And I'm like, cool. And I
thinking it's like a Loratab or something.
Yeah, and it wasn't. But my best friend, there was a group of us, like I said, we had a graduation party that night at his parents' house. And we tried it together. I remember being in our car. And for both of us, John and myself, we were like, we knew it. Like, that was the first time I knew that I had that thought that I'm going to do this again.
I like this.
And I'm going to do it every day if need be, because it filled something. It did something. It did what I needed it to do that I didn't know that I did. And it was the same for him. I did go to college at the JC and used pretty much the whole time.
Something about the way you put that makes me want to ask. So early on in your childhood, you said you can remember being on your knees with your mom. I'm assuming that's prayerfully. And as you march your way into deeper and deeper addiction, where is your faith at this time? Just on a shelf somewhere, not thinking about it? Or is it? Or do you feel like you have none at this point?
I would say on a shelf.
Just shelved. Okay.
I never doubted the existence of God. I didn't.
Didn't think about it at all.
I just that would exactly be it.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't mad. Like it wasn't that. So at that time, I had also been introduced to methamphetamine, and I did it every day with the opiates, and I did that pretty heavily for about a year, and it didn't work out for me. I stayed up about 17 days, and I had a seizure at a friend's funeral, and I got busted, so to speak. I remember being at the ER. And well, first, I remember my dad was not going to be able to come to that funeral. Brett had died in a car accident, and Dad had court that day. By the time I woke up from the seizure, I was in the back of the ambulance, and I remember opening my eyes, and my dad was standing at the foot of the ambulance, and I knew that he shouldn't be there. So I remember, and it's childlike, but I was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm out. And I just shut my eyes again. When I got to the hospital, my mom was already there, and she said someone had called her. She knew that it was drugs and said that I was in trouble. And I really didn't.
How old were you at this point?
Would have been 2001, so 1920. Yes, he died, I want to say June or July of 2001. I didn't see a problem, but I'm not a small girl. I'm just not meant to be like super skinny. And I knew when they stood me on the scale at the ER and it said like 108, that's when I said, oh, I'm busted. Yeah, I'm done. I knew it was over with. So Mom talked to me and we agreed to intensive outpatient. And so I did that first.
This is treatment 1?
It is.
Okay.
Well, no, that was just out. I didn't ever count that as an inpatient. I've completed treatment 14 times.
But is this the first one?
No, I don't count that. It was not inpatient.
Oh, okay. So this is pre-even one for you. Okay.
Yes.
I got you.
Yes. 14 and a half.
Okay.
So I did that, but at the time, I did not know how to go through withdrawal. And because OxyContin was so new, it didn't register on drug tests. And, drug addicts, we think we're a lot smarter than everybody else. So I was making straight A's in treatment. My parents are proud, like, oh, thank God, our daughter's going to be okay. And I was going in to take my drug test at the place in Gulfport, doing pills on the back of the toilet first.
I was in treatment right when Oxy was coming out, and everybody was getting high on them the whole time.
And no one knew.
And the place was drug testing, and
they didn't know. They weren't registering. They thought opiates is opiates, and no, it wasn't.
You got to do synthetic. Yeah.
So, but what I did find, it was, let's see, I don't remember what got me in trouble after that, because I finished it, and then it wasn't even a month later, they were like, oh yeah, no, you're going to inpatient. Was
there any sobriety time during or after that outpatient? Were you using
you didn't want to be sober?
No.
Okay.
I had no consequences. Like, for what? Yeah. I got busted.
Are you living with
my daddy?
Still living with your dad?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, because this is one of the things where we get to talk to you a little bit beforehand, so we may forget, but because that's a really powerful statement you just made, right? And I'm hoping everybody kind of hears that you had no consequences, and really they were disguised by a well-intentioned father, but because those consequences weren't there, you also had no sense of urgency to change, right?
Dead on.
Yeah.
My mother would have given me consequences, and I know that I can't imagine how frustrated she must have been on feeling like she probably didn't have a voice, because she could be shouting, saying, hey, look, David, there's a problem. And if I said, no, I'm good, and bat my eyes, everything's fine. And I used his love against him.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did.
Very common, though.
But he didn't.
Was there a wake-up call for him? Did that ever change?
Not until the very, very end.
Very end. Okay. So he really...
Well, he had I'll take that back. I think he had multiple wake-up calls. I think each time they learned. Like with my mother, each time that I fell off, she got even smarter. And she is like excellent with tough love. And now I can say, like, it was horrible at the time, but thank God for it.
Yeah.
But no, I would say that if it hadn't have been for like my siblings and other people helping him set some boundaries, I don't know that he ever would have.
Well, I often say that both sides of the ledger, the addict and the codependent, have to come to that same realization that my way isn't working. They both have to come to that same realization about their own journeys there. So interesting. All right. So no consequences. Dad's loving his daughter literally to death.
I'm trying to, yes, exactly. I'm trying to remember 2001. I don't know what got me in trouble, but they figured out that I was absolutely using, and that treatment didn't work. Didn't fix me.
Right.
So,
so we got to find a better rehab.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
More money.
Yes, that's how that went. I went to sleep, and this wasn't the first time. That was the first time, but it was not the last time that I would go take a nap, and I'd wake up and I'd hear jingle, jingle, jingle. And it's the sheriff's department. And my mom's like, Kathryn, sheriff's department's here to get you. You're going to the psych ward, or you're going to the jail, or like one or the other.
Oh, they were there because she was committing you.
Yes.
Or found a way to involuntarily.
Oh, yes. That was, and I knew not to argue. Like, no. Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today.
So speak a little bit. So your dad was a pretty well-known attorney in the area.
Yes.
So he was very connected to
Yes. Yeah. And my mom's family was
forcing
well
you
known.
to do things.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I
Or
didn't
initially
have,
protecting you.
yes.
But your mom was what?
Yes. Both my dad and then my mom's family, it's a small area.
Yeah.
And yes, I didn't get away.
They were connected.
They knew, yes.
Yeah.
I remember when I was 16, my nickname's Wheezy, has been my whole life since the week I was born. And my dad, when I was 16, I guess, they had bought me a car, my second car, I totaled the first one, and put Wheezy on the car tag. And it was like entrapment in my eyes because
Everywhere you went.
I was in Pascagoula and we had been out, and I guess I was throwing up in Jerry Lee's parking lot. And by the time I got home, my dad was already sitting up waiting, and he was like, "Do you really think that it was a good idea to be throwing up in a parking lot?" Like the cop called. I saw the cop, but he didn't stop us. He called, and I was like, "I'm sorry, it won't happen again,"
So not only was your dad not imposing consequences,
No one was.
but would it be fair to say that in his position, he was also protecting you from also actually deflecting consequences that might otherwise have come your way, but because of his position was able to get,
yes, absolutely.
Wow. And I know that changes later in your story, right? But
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
So I went to the hospital. That got me actually detoxed. That was horrible. If you've never gone through opiate withdrawal, in your mind, there's no end to it. You don't know that it's going to end, and it is awful. But so that put me into my first inpatient. I went to Pine Grove in Hattiesburg. Everybody told my family, it was top 5 in the nation. It's going to be great. And it was supposed to be 90 days. At the time, I don't know how it is now, but I could have my vehicle there after 2 weeks, and I could check myself out and go to the tanning bed. Yeah, I could just go shop and go to the tanning bed. And yeah.
Wow.
I know. And I was 20. And my mom would be like, she'd call and she's like, "Aren't you supposed to be in rehab?" And I was like, I am,
Mom.
I am working my program. I had all the words I was picking up at meetings. But what happened in that one is something I often see. And Pine Grove was known to be a professionals program. A lot of doctors and nurses from all over the country went there. Well, I'm 20. You're 40 and 50, and you're telling me, "I wish I'd gotten it when I was your age."
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Got what? I shut them down. Yeah. I didn't hear them. And now I'm finding myself at 43 going, if I had only gotten it at your age, but it just doesn't work that way. And all you can do is keep trying and keep hoping.
And I know I mean, not to keep going back to this, but it's like you weren't getting consequences. So why would you?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
It doesn't make sense to normal people.
Right.
But I mean, to a drug addict, it's like, I'm already getting what I want.
Why do I need to change anything? Nothing hurts.
I just need to be smarter about not getting caught.
Yes. That's exactly how I thought. Yeah. You're right.
Well, and there's the blessing and curse of youth, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But it didn't go away for a long time. I did that treatment and I went home on a pass, and it was December 8th, 2001. And when I came home, my sister, Lauren, on the scapegoat, the overachiever, the lost child, and the jester. So Lauren was the overachiever. She was like soccer star, valedictorian, and just like super strong. And her boyfriend at the time, they had dated since they were very young, was also pretty much the same. Very driven, and I don't want to go into a lot of detail. It was all over the place. But that weekend, her boyfriend, who was in his first semester of college at LSU, had come home, and a guy that we had known, that I considered a friend, waited outside his house, and he shot and killed him. And I just remember my parents having to sit us down and say, your sister is never going to be the same again. Like, it just rocked everything. And you don't know, like, we know car accidents and traumatic events, but when it's a violent crime that was intentional and it hits you, you don't know how you're going to react. And so you said, well, where was your relationship with God? I know that it was just shelved. I know that I never doubted his existence, because it was in that moment that I got angry. Because I remember I started to question, and then my mind said, no, you don't question him. But I said, it makes no sense, because they did everything right. And I have done everything wrong.
Oh.
And I separated.
Survivor's guilt.
And I will say, she is strong. She is different than she would have been, absolutely. But it was just a rough few years for a lot of us.
I know you don't want to get into the details, but it's such a moment without explanation. What was the motive there? Was it
over her?
It was over her. Okay.
That we didn't know. So. Okay.
And I guess there is some truth to the fact that she was never the same.
Never the same.
Okay.
But she's strong. It was, so Kyle, had graduated valedictorian, voted most likely to succeed in May of 2001. And then he died 6 months later. And 6 months after that, Lauren graduated valedictorian of, Giudice High School as well. And some part of the first part of her speech had been also the first part of his. Like, she still honored him. And so that was good.
Yeah. So did you have any sense of needing to rush in and protect your sister? Was there nothing?
No, it was just frozen.
Shock. Yeah.
Like, can't wrap your mind around it. How is this happening? This doesn't happen to us. What is this?
But now enter anger at God in the mix of everything else.
Yes.
Okay.
And still getting high every day.
No, I was only on a pass. I was on a therapeutic leave when that happened. So I had to go back to treatment. I was almost to the end of my 90 days. I would have been right after Christmas. And so I got to go home again at Christmas, and everything was just different. Like, my sister's she's sad. And I used on that pass and went back to the treatment center, and they clearly knew. It was really obvious. It took me 8 hours to get from Giudice to Hattiesburg. It's an hour and a half away, and that was before cell phones. And so they said my only option would be another 90 days. So I ended up in that treatment a total of 6 months. What happened there wasn't just the not receiving from the older people and just saying, well, I haven't done all of those things. I haven't had blackouts, DUIs. I haven't had all that. But what also happened was I was starting to learn finally about addiction, like paying attention and doing my homework. And what I knew was methamphetamine had cost me consequences. That's what caused the seizure in my mind. That's what got me in trouble. That's what got me busted. And it scared me. But Oxycontin didn't cause me any consequences other than that horrible withdrawal. And so I got to drive myself home in, I think it was like the first or second week of March of 2001, and went straight to my dad's office. And I've successfully completed inpatient. My life is going to be great. He's super proud, and he gave me a couple $100 to go get things I needed. And I went right across the street, and I got high that same day before I ever saw any of the rest of my family. And then about 3 months after that, I fell asleep in my Explorer, driving down Highway 90 at about 80 miles an hour. I took a nap and flipped my Explorer multiple times, broke my ankle, did damage to my hand, and walked away from it. And even then, the insanity, though, is what I look back to. I knew I was hurt. I could see blood. I had to crawl out the back windshield. There was holes everywhere. Like, I knew I was hurt, which told me this was not going to be a quick trip. I did not want to be dope sick. And so I walked on broken glass and barefoot, looking for my bag that I kept my pills in. Then I would calm down and go with the ambulance. Like that was my mindset.
You know what's funny about that? I have said to many a client, I think sometimes they think you're being facetious when you say these extreme things, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a slogan in recovery that you have to be at least as dedicated to your recovery as you were to your addiction, right?
Yes.
And I will say, look, any one of you in the dead of winter, if it's 30 below and you're not going anywhere until you run out of drugs and your dealer calls you from 3 miles away and says, you would walk barefoot in the snow.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, here's a perfect example, right? I mean, broken ankle,
glass.
I mean, I mean, that's just amazing, right? Just the level at which it hooks you.
Yep.
So, wow. So is this leading now to a treatment attempt number 2 at this point?
It was a commitment, another commitment. This time they were going to make sure to not send me to a fancy treatment center. So they let me go to Whitfield, to the state hospital, to the A&D unit. And I'm going to be honest, we hear horrible things about it. It was actually a really good treatment as far as treatments go. Like I wasn't in the crazy part or the mentally ill part or the people that are there for life. It was just drug and alcohol treatment, and the state paid for it. But these were like really qualified instructors coming in there.
Yeah.
I had a good counselor. I was there it was supposed to be 40 something days. And for whatever reason, once again, I stay longer than anyone. And this time it wasn't because I was there for like 60 something days. They were like, we just feel like you're not getting honest. I'm like, of course I am so honest at this point. But I had been in it wasn't a serious relationship, but he was my drug dealer. And then I had told my dad that he was in AA. And so that's why I needed to still stay in contact with him. He was not in AA. And he believed me. My mom was like, no, David, she's lying. Does he look like he's in AA? And he was like, no, we got to give her the benefit of the doubt. And she was like, no, I don't.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Honestly, I was just in and out after that. It was a couple of treatments. So what happened that next stands out is I might have stayed sober 2 weeks after that. We talk a lot about not leaving anything undone and those reservations. I would have told you that I got pretty honest, more honest than I had, because I realized like this is really starting to suck and I really don't want to come back here.
Well, there's honesty, but there's two types of dishonesty, right? There's dishonesty by commission. I'm telling you a lie. And then there's dishonesty by omission. I'm just not telling you something. Yeah, you're protecting
I had
secrets.
a couple $100 hidden inside a book in my bedroom. And I didn't tell on that. I told all this other stuff, but I might need that. And when I got home, I think I'd only been home a couple days, and somebody needed exactly the amount I had to fill a prescription. And that was it. So I think the next one, nope.
Before you get to that, one of the things I'm hearing here, and just after each episode of treatment, you're going right back to the old environment. That's what right? Nothing is, I believe that you probably felt pretty good in the treatment program, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you're getting as honest as you are, even though we're still holding on to something, but the minute you leave, you're going back to that old environment. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. My mom once wrote me a letter, a card, and I remember very well. It was like, I'd ask how you're doing, but you always are doing great in treatment.
Yeah.
It's those rose-colored glasses you wear when you leave that tend to be the problem. So I was like, excuse me.
Yeah.
No, so I get confused on years. I miss a lot of time. And I think 2002, I probably tried to go back to school. I would go back to school and do well for a semester. Mm-hmm. And then by that next semester, it'd be a lot of, if you look at my transcript, it's a bunch of withdrawals and audits. I never audited it. They just gave it to me. I never actually went and sat in there. But John, the one that I had first used the Oxycontin with, he had been clean basically just a year. Like, we had periodically kept in touch. I knew he had been in and out of treatment. And he told some friends of ours, or two of them that I know of, hey, I'm going to just get high one more time on the Oxycontin. And he died in May of 2003 when he was 23.
Overdose.
And that was the actual month I found out that I was pregnant with my now 20-year-old Isabel. And when we were younger, he had talked about naming a little girl Isabel, like he named pets, Bella, Izzy, you name it. And
was he the father?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I just named no. I named her Isabel, and she knows why.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to grieve because I didn't ever get sober enough to feel anything. And so that was one of those things that I just tabled as well. I maybe had stayed sober a couple weeks, and then when he died, even knowing that I was pregnant with Isabel, I relapsed hardcore and on crack cocaine, the Oxycontin, anything that I could. I finally checked myself into the hospital, I think when I was like 7 months pregnant with her. The only safe option, so to avoid withdrawal, was to put me on methadone. And so Isabel was born. She was actually very healthy, and that's nothing but God.
Yeah, amen.
So we had to detox her with Paregoric. It's an opiate, but like people, like when I said it, my uncle Clark, when I said it, even back then, he went like this because it's just that bitter, and he remembered it from years
old
before.
School opiate.
Yes,
yeah.
My mom would she'd boil water and make sugar water just to try to help. And I can remember having to blow into her mouth so that she'd breathe. It was that bitter. It stole her breath. And so we detoxed her with that, and she did extremely, like, they said it would take a long time, and it didn't.
This is at birth, you're detoxing her. Yeah.
As soon as she came home, we started bringing her down off of it. And that was something, whenever I had her, I went to stay with my mom, probably for the first month or two.
So and I'm going to assume that you gave birth, and it was you were trying to make it like this huge event, like, I'm going to get clean now. Right? Yeah. Like, you had a reason to be clean. So how did that go?
No. Yeah, pretty much. I was in treatment. Pretty sure at that point, Dad. So this is also around the time that I started getting charges filed on me, but they were always filed by my dad so that he could drop them after I would agree to go to treatment. And so I'm sure the first ones, well, it usually always, back to that second grade thing, uttering forgery was what it ended up being most of the time. And so they put me, I know that she was 10 months old when they had me committed again, because the doctor at Singing River at that time would not let me have visitation with Isabel being an infant unless I agreed to come off the methadone. And so they did a rapid detox, and that was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I do remember that. So that I could see her, and then Dad would drop charges. I would go to treatment again. So 2004, I was in another treatment. There's basically about, she turned 1. I didn't clearly stay sober there either. She turned 1 January 27th. They let me be there for her first birthday and then had me arrested on a lot of charges.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for part 1, episode 1 of season 2. You are getting to know Kathryn Beatty as I am, and so I really hope that you join us next week for part 2. I am looking forward to you guys being here with us. And don't forget, Jesus Loves Addicts. You can find us on any major podcast carrier, as well as JesusLovesAddicts.com. We'd love to hear your story. Stop in, say hello, give us comments. And again, join us next week for part 2 of this amazing story.